Greetings, I'm J. Peter Bruzzese, and you're watching Exchange Server 2010 Training. Welcome to Train Signal. This is the first of many greetings to come, and we're going to start this whole series off with the video Getting Started with Exchange Server 2010 Training. I want you to know right from the beginning that this video series is like no other series you've ever seen. I'm not just going to teach you Exchange. I'm not just going to show you which buttons to push to make things happen. No, instead, we're going to build an Exchange organization from scratch. In this course, we're going to take a company called Globomantics, which currently has a hosted email solution in place, and we're going to build them the ultimate in-house Exchange organization. You watch and see. We're going to do it together, so that by the time we're done, if we did work for Globomantics, you'd have the knowledge to take my job. In addition, because Globomantics acquires another company called Paraisu Brokerage, which currently has an Exchange 2007 organization, we're going to have to fly down to Brazil often and care for the transition over to an Exchange 2010 organization. And of course, we have to put in the little disclaimer that flying to Brazil is done virtually. No promise is made that you, the student, will ever be literally flying, nor does Train Signal wish to incur the costs for anything the instructor says that may lead you to literally fly to Brazil. My name is J. Peter Bruzzese, and I'm a huge believer in certification. My current certification acronyms include the following: Triple MCSE, that means I'm an MCSE for NT 4.0, 2000, 2003. I'm an MCITP for messaging for 2007 and 2010. A+, Network+, INET+, CIW, CNA, CCNA. You get the point. I love certification. And I absolutely love technical training. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, a technical author with over a dozen books sold internationally to my credit, and the list goes on. But like I said, a modest bio of your instructor. The one question I haven't answered, however, is why am I teaching this Exchange course? Put simply, Exchange is my passion. I've been working with and teaching Exchange for over 10 years. I've been an Exchange instructor for many years with a variety of different training agencies and private corporations. I contributed to the Exchange 2007 Administrator's Companion, which was printed by Microsoft Press. I wrote the Exchange 2007 SP1 How-To book by SAMS. I'm author of Exclusively Exchange, which is a column for real-time, and founder of the site www.exclusivelyexchange.com. I participated in the Microsoft TAP program for Exchange 2010. I'm a speaker for Tech Mentor TEC 2009, Tech Ed 2008 and 2010, and IT360 in Canada, and typically I speak about Exchange. I'm a journalist for InfoWorld, and I write the Enterprise Windows column, and I typically write one column a month about Exchange. So friend, you're in good hands. Not to worry, because even though it may appear to be a huge undertaking, we're going to work through this together. Now, as for getting started, we need to stand before we walk and walk before we run. Well, this training course is designed to begin with the foundation that you should already have in place. What foundation are we referring to? Well, to really benefit from this course, you have to have some sort of pre-existing knowledge in relation to enterprise networking, which includes TCP/IP, site topology, DNS, routing, things of that sort. In addition, you should have more than just a basic knowledge of Server 2008. You should have more advanced knowledge that deals with certificates and the use of administrative tools, ways of working with your storage, and Active Directory. You should be very clear on what Active Directory is, how to work with it, sites, domains, users, and so forth. And of course, once we have you walking and running, the next step is flying. We're going to build upon the foundation that you have slowly until you're ready to administrate a global messaging system. Ultimately, we're building this. Utilizing the Train Signal proven method of scenario-based training, we're going to take Globomantics and Paraisu Brokerage, and we're going to build out this incredible infrastructure that spans the globe. Don't get too lost in this diagram just yet. We're going to build small and work our way up. To do that, we're going to build upon your pre-existing foundation with these course building blocks. So we have Section 1, Getting Started with Exchange 2010. Section 2 will include the Mailbox Server role. Section 3 is the Client Access Server role. Section 4 is Transport Server roles. Section 5 is managing mailboxes and messaging policy. Section 6 is permission management. Section 7 is unified messaging. Section 8 is high availability and disaster recovery. Section 9 is monitoring and reporting. And we'll finish it up with Section 10, which is our conclusion. So you might be wondering, why is this course in the order that we currently have it? Well, it's the order that makes the most sense when teaching someone with limited or no Exchange background. So you may wonder, can I jump around and watch any video in this series that I want? That really depends upon your pre-existing understanding of Exchange. If this is the first time you're working with Exchange, then I would recommend that you watch the videos in the order that we have them. In fact, even if you've worked with legacy versions of Exchange like Exchange 5.5, Exchange 2000, Exchange 2003, again, I would recommend that you watch them in order, because the changes that were made in Exchange 2007 and now carried forward into Exchange 2010 are extensive enough that you might be lost without following the videos in the order that they've been laid out. If, however, you worked with Exchange 2007 and you have a good grasp of the changes that were made and you pretty much understand Exchange 2007 really well, then sure, you can jump around and you can watch just those videos that you think are necessary for you to catch up to speed. You might be wondering, are the skills taught in order of exam objective? Well, at times they are, but not intentionally. Most of the time they're not. If you look at the exam objectives as they're listed by Microsoft, these are not in a logical order for learning Exchange. So it doesn't really make sense to teach Exchange in that order. It would actually be very confusing to students if we tried to teach Exchange in the order that it's laid out in the exam objectives. In addition, you may be wondering what features within the course can assist you to learn. Well, for one thing, do not skip the lab setup video or the Your Globomantic scenario video. With the lab setup video, we show our cards, so to speak. You have an opportunity to see how we've set up our infrastructure in order to demonstrate the various features of Exchange. And then you can set up your own lab and duplicate exactly what we're doing as we go throughout the course. That's really going to help you to drive home all of the points, because being able to do it yourself will really drive that information home. Now, you may not be able to mimic exactly what we've set up. You may not have the hardware and software for that. And that's okay, because in the lab setup video, we also talk you through setting up a simple configuration so that even with a single server, you'll be able to follow along with most of the demonstrations. As for the Globomantic scenario video, this is essential for you to understand the whole flow of the course. I can teach you Exchange, which is simply providing information. And I can show you how to configure Exchange, which is really simply doing a grouping of demonstrations. But what you may never get from information or demonstration is the why factor. You may never really know why, and in effect when, you need to configure these things. And so the Globomantic scenario really rounds out your training, because it gives you the why factor. Because following along in the scenario as Globomantics has to implement all of these different features with specific purpose behind the implementation, well, that helps for you to start reasoning and understanding how the information and demonstrations come together when you have a why, when you have a reason for doing something. Now, if you're interested in preparing for the certification exam, be sure to watch the Transcender videos included with the course, as well as the video that I created to help prepare you for the 70-662 exam. With the release of Service Pack 1 for Exchange 2010 in the third quarter of 2010, we decided that it was essential to provide additional training on the new features. This Service Pack does enhance features, in some cases dramatically for the better, so we created additional lessons explaining and demonstrating these changes. We have some new archiving options in Exchange 2010 SP1, some enhancements to high availability, a new GUI for working with retention policies, permission settings on public folders through the Public Folder Management Console, and a handful of other adjustments. These additional videos will walk you through the changes. Now, in order to give you the information that you need, we jump somewhat outside the form of the original series scenario and lab setup. The SP1 lessons are meant to be quick overviews of the changes and demonstrations of any new features. So we demonstrate these entirely in our lab environment and don't go into a detailed scenario. So you just have to know that the systems we're using include 2 servers running Exchange 2010 SP1 in typical installation mode. So there's the CAS server, Hub Transport server, and Mailbox server roles installed. There are 2 different domains depending on the video that you're watching, either globomantics.com or exclusivelyexchange.com. It just depends on which system I felt like working with for the demonstration of a given feature. In your lab, you can just set up one server and one domain, and you'll be able to easily follow along with all of the SP1 demonstrations. Alright, so my closing advice and encouragement before we get started? Make this training enjoyable. Set up your own servers, follow along, and do what I do so that we're truly working together. Try not to get too frustrated if something doesn't work out immediately, and especially if you don't have the hardware or software to perform a task. Some of these lessons required expensive hardware and software in order for me to be able to show you visually the whole story of Exchange, so you may not have access to the same materials, and that's okay. Again, make the training enjoyable, and do everything that you can to join the Exchange community. If you utilize Twitter, look for the Exchange Twitter tags, follow Exchange MVP blogs. You can do a quick search for those through Google or Bing. Use the Microsoft Exchange Team website. To start off, you may be one of those individuals that benefit from the community, but over time, you may become one of those individuals that give back to the community. And that's one of the best things about the Exchange community, is the helpful spirit that we see. Learning Exchange makes you part of a special group of people, the Exchange family, starting now. So allow me to be the first to welcome you to this new family. Are you ready and excited to get started? Great, then I'll see you in the next lesson.